My wife and daughter said they'd be better off without me, so I left without a word. Now they're blowing up my phone begging me to come home. I, 42M, never thought I'd be posting here, but I need perspective from strangers because I can't trust my own judgment anymore. 2 weeks ago, I came home early from a business trip. I was supposed to be gone until Friday, but meetings wrapped up Wednesday afternoon, and I decided to surprise my family by coming home early. 15 years of marriage, and I'd never done something spontaneous like this. Maybe that was part of the problem. Walking into my own house, I heard my wife and teenage daughter talking in the kitchen. I was about to announce myself when I heard my name. Something in their tone made me pause in the hallway. He just doesn't get it, my daughter was saying. It's like he's not even trying. I know, honey, my wife replied with a sigh that felt like a knife to my chest. Sometimes I wonder if we'd be better off without him. We would be, my daughter said without hesitation. At least then we wouldn't have to deal with his constant negativity. My wife didn't disagree. She just made some comment about how things weren't going to change, and they'd have to learn to live with it. I stood there, frozen. 15 years of marriage, 17 years of fatherhood. And this is what they really thought of me? That they'd be better off if I wasn't around. I'd worked 60-hour weeks for years to provide for them. I'd attended every school event I could. I thought I was a good husband and father. Clearly, I was wrong. I quietly backed away, grabbed my suitcase, which I hadn't even unpacked, and left. I didn't slam doors or make a scene. I just left, checked into a hotel across town, and turned off my phone. When I finally turned it back on the next morning, there were dozens of missed calls and messages. My wife was frantic, asking where I was, if I was okay. My daughter had left tearful voicemails. I sent a brief text. I heard what you both said yesterday. I'm giving you what you want. You'll be better off without me. That unleashed a flood of calls and texts. My wife was insisting she didn't mean it like that I was taking things out of context. My daughter was apologizing, saying she was just frustrated about something specific. She didn't even mention what. It's been 2 weeks now. I've been staying at a hotel, going to work, coming back to my empty room. My wife has gone from frantic to angry. She's accusing me of abandoning the family, of being childish, of overreacting. My daughter's school counselor called, concerned about her emotional state. Apparently, she's been crying at school. Am I overreacting? Part of me thinks I should just go home and pretend it never happened. But another part of me can't unhear what I heard. We'd be better off without him. If that's how they truly feel, why should I force my presence on them? My brother says I'm being stubborn and need to talk to them. My coworker thinks I should hire a lawyer. I don't know what to do. I miss my family, but I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted. Hashtag update 1. I didn't expect so many responses. Thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. Many of you suggested I was indeed overreacting and needed to talk to them face to face. Others thought I should hold my ground. After reading through everything, I decided to meet with my wife at a neutral location, a coffee shop we used to frequent when we were dating. The conversation was tense at first. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. I probably didn't look much better after 2 weeks in a hotel. I asked her to explain what I'd heard. According to her, the conversation I overheard was specifically about my recent attitude. Apparently, I've been increasingly negative over the past year, criticizing everything from politics to neighbors to family decisions. She claims I shoot down ideas before giving them a chance, that I always expect the worst outcome in any situation. I was defensive at first. I told her I'm a realist, not a pessimist. But when she started listing examples, how I dismissed our daughter's college choices before researching them, how I complained through our entire last family vacation, I had to admit there might be some truth to it. She insisted they weren't talking about wanting me physically gone from their lives. The better off without him comment was specifically about my negative attitude and how it affects the household mood. I asked why she never brought this up before. She said she had tried multiple times, but I'd brushed it off or turned it around on her. She admitted that venting with our daughter wasn't appropriate, and she regretted it. We agreed to meet again tomorrow, this time with our daughter present. I'm still hurt, but at least I understand better what's going on. I'll update again after we talk. Hashtag update 2. Yesterday, I met with both my wife and daughter at my brother's house. He offered to give us privacy and then conveniently found reasons to stay. The conversation was difficult but necessary. My daughter could barely look at me at first. When she finally did speak, she burst into tears, saying she thought I had left forever because of what she said. I assured her that wasn't the case, though I admitted her words had hurt deeply. She explained that the day I overheard them, she had just told my wife about wanting to apply to an art school across the country. She was afraid to tell me because, in her words, Dad always thinks art is a waste of time. She was already anticipating my negative reaction. I was stunned. Yes, I've made comments about the financial stability of artistic careers, but I never realized my daughter was interpreting them as me devaluing her passion. She's talented. I've always thought so, but somehow, that message never got through. Instead, she heard only my concerns about practicality. My wife added that my constant negativity had been wearing them both down. Small examples started coming out. How I complain about traffic every day, how I find fault with every restaurant we try, how I shoot down vacation ideas by immediately focusing on what could go wrong. It was hard to hear, but I recognized myself in their descriptions. Somewhere along the way, I had become the person who always expects the worst. I had forgotten how to appreciate things, how to look forward to possibilities. I apologized to them both, genuinely. I also explained that disappearing wasn't the right way to handle it, but I had been so hurt in the moment that I couldn't think clearly. All I could think was that my family didn't want me anymore. We agreed that we all need to communicate better. I need to work on my negative outlook. They need to address issues directly rather than discussing them behind my back. We're going to try family counseling, and I'm considering individual therapy as well. I moved back home last night. Things are still tense, but there's relief too. We're talking now, really talking, perhaps for the first time in years. Hashtag update 3. It's been a month since I moved back home, and I wanted to provide a final update for those who have been following my situation. The first week was awkward. We were all walking on eggshells, overly polite, afraid to say anything that might trigger another crisis. But gradually, with the help of our family counselor, we've started finding our way back to normal, or rather, to a new normal. I've been working on my negativity. Our counselor suggested a simple exercise. Try to find one positive thing to say before voicing a concern. It sounds basic, but it's been eye-opening. I never realized how automatically I jumped to criticism. I've also been making an effort to genuinely engage with my daughter's art interests. We visited the art school she's interested in last weekend. Instead of immediately pointing out all the potential problems with her plan, I asked questions and listened. The campus was impressive, and their career support program is much more robust than I had assumed. I still have concerns about the cost, but we're discussing those constructively rather than dismissively. My wife says the household feels lighter. There's more laughter, fewer tense silences. She's been making an effort too, addressing issues directly with me rather than letting resentment build or discussing them with our daughter. As for my daughter, we're rebuilding our relationship. She's showing me her artwork again, something she apparently stopped doing months ago because she was tired of what she perceived as my lukewarm responses. I didn't even notice she had stopped sharing this important part of her life with me, which says a lot about where my head has been. The whole experience has been a wake-up call. I never would have chosen to overhear that painful conversation, but in retrospect, maybe it needed to happen. Sometimes you need to see yourself through others' eyes to recognize patterns you've been blind to. For those who accused me of being childish by leaving, you weren't entirely wrong. It was a reactive decision made in emotional distress. But sometimes hitting rock bottom is what forces you to acknowledge there's a problem. I'm grateful for a second chance with my family. The work isn't done. I still catch myself slipping into old patterns of negativity, and there are moments of tension, but we're communicating now. That's more than I could say 2 months ago. To anyone in a similar situation, don't wait until you overhear something heartbreaking to examine how you're showing up in your relationships. And if you do hit that breaking point, try to find the courage to talk it through rather than running away. I almost lost everything because I couldn't do that. Thank you again for all the advice and perspective. Sometimes strangers on the internet see things more clearly than we can ourselves.